Portland Area Library here for our very last Imagination Wednesday program of this online summer reading challenge. We hope you guys are busy logging in all of your minutes and getting ready to accept all of your cool prizes. If you still need some points, today's code word I'm going to give to you now, as long as you promise to watch to the end of the video, that you'll enter into Read Squared for your 30 extra points. Today's code word is going to be Humpty Dumpty, like Humpty Dumpty who sat on a wall. Today, for our virtual program, I am very, very excited to talk to you guys about maps, all kinds of maps. My video I'm going to kind of make in two parts. The first part is going to be talking about story maps. Really, it's for kids of any and all ages. Adult involvement will vary, of course. And then the second part is going to be aimed towards a little bit of older kids. Younger kids can definitely still get into it, but the second part is just going to be making fantasy maps for fun. So in just a second, we will get started talking about story maps. All right, so we know a lot of times when we think about story maps in terms of like schooling and education, we think about something like this, where we are organizing the events, the characters, setting, problem, plan, and resolution that happen in a story to kind of summarize it, boil it down to, the most simple ideas and get everything together. But today we're going to talk about some more fun and creative ways to get that same concept across. Story maps are very important for like memory and recall, visual representation of ideas and events, which is definitely what we're focusing on today. It also helps with like summary skills and just general like cognitive abilities, but also it's super fun and you can be as creative as you want. I'm going to go over a few different ways to approach it. Some are more crafty than others, but really you can do absolutely whatever you want with whatever you want. You can draw, you can use photos out of like magazines, you can print things off. You can use stickers, you can use paint, you can, cut things out that you printed out, you can use glitter, absolutely whatever kind of fun stuff makes your heart the happiest. We are going to go over the Three Little Pigs together. For our first one, I have already printed out and colored our little story tiles, and you guys are going to help me put them in order to make our visual story map. Okay, so to get started, of course, you're going to want to pick your favorite story, short story, or fairy tale, whatever you'd like. Like I said, today I chose the Three Little Pigs for us to work on together. I went ahead and printed out and colored our tiles, but you can use kind of whatever method you choose. And for the tiles, of course, mine came pre-printed with the big important things happening. But if you're going to do them yourself, you'll want to think about your story and what important things happen. Who is the main character, or what other characters show up that you need to make sure you include, and what things happen that are the most important. I'll show you in our next example too a little bit of a longer story that I kind of boiled down the same way. So for here, we're going to want to start with which event happening first, which would be, you've got it, and that is Mama Pig saying bye-bye to all of her baby pigs. Now let me actually scoot these out of our way a little bit, make that easier for us. So first things first, Mama Pig says bye to the baby pigs. She's sending them out of the house to go do what? And yep, you guys are right, and it's going to be to go out and build their own houses. So our second tile here are going to be the piggies, and they decide to make their houses out of straw, sticks, and bricks, right? So after they collect all of their supplies, they're building their houses. Up next is the big bad wolf making his appearance, right? So this one has the big bad wolf because he visits the straw house first. And what does he do? He huffs and he puffs and he blows that straw house down because it's just not very strong compared to his big wolf lungs. And after that, do you guys know which house he visits? That is right, he visits the stick house. So here we are with two little piggies in their stick house, and the big bad wolf shows up, and he huffs, and he puffs, and he blows that house down, and it takes a little bit longer because it's a little bit stronger, right? But eventually he knocks it over, so those piggies run, and they run to what? It was the brick house, right? So here are the three little piggies, all in the third piggy's brick house. And the big bad wolf shows up. And what does he do? He huffs, and he puffs, and he blows. But that house doesn't fall down, huh? Because bricks are the strongest, right? We all know that from the story. So here he is. He's trying with all his might, but the piggies are very happy and very safe inside this brick house. And that leaves us with one tile left, and that would be this one. Do you guys see what the big bad wolf is doing? He says, if I can't blow the house down, I'm going to sneak into this house. And he's going to sneak in through the chimney. But the big mistake, right, is that the little piggies have put a pot of boiling water in the fireplace, and they've got it nice and hot for him. So he's going to shimmy on down that chimney right into the boiling water, and well, I think most of us know how that ends, and it's definitely not very pretty. So here we are with our very simple Three Little Piggies story map. Thank you guys for all of your help with getting that story map together for the Three Little Pigs. That is kind of like the most simple way to do it. It still gets the point across. It's still fun because you got to color or cut out, but you get to use those pictures to retell the story in your own words. This next one I'm going to show you guys is a little bit more creative, and I think it might be a little bit confusing for some people, but I put arrows on it, so it totally counts. And as long as I can use it to retell the story, then I think it's a pretty successful story map. So this is a story map that I made of Snow White, and I just went ahead and cut out with construction paper different shapes to kind of simplify everything to remind me of the important parts of the story. So we will start over here, and this is some baby girl clothes because the story starts with Snow White being born, right? And she is absolutely beautiful, and she is so beautiful that the evil queen is very, very jealous of her. And when she gets older, the evil queen asks the magic mirror. You guys know what question? Yeah, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And the evil queen wants the mirror to say her, but the mirror says it's Snow White. Sorry about it. And this makes the evil queen so mad, so she banishes Snow White. Snow White ends up getting chased into this spooky forest. And while she's in the forest, she meets the 7 dwarves, right? And I can't think of everybody's names right now, so I just put numbers on here. So she meets the 7 dwarves, and while she's with them, the evil queen thinks that Snow White has disappeared and that she's not going to be competition anymore. She asks the mirror again, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And the mirror says, oh, it's still Snow White. And of course this makes the evil queen so angry. So she disguises herself as an old woman and takes a poison apple to Snow White. And she tricks Snow White into eating it, and then Snow White falls into a deep slumber, right? And then after being poisoned and being in her deep sleep, what happens in all fairy tales? Yep, it's the knight in shining armor. He shows up, he fights with the evil queen in some stories, and other stories he works with the dwarves to help wake Snow White up, right? So however you would like that part of the tale to work out, perfectly fine. But in the end, everything works out, and Snow White and the Prince Charming, I wrote PC on there, Prince Charming, fall in love and they get there happily ever after. So again, this is just my example of a little bit more of a fun and creative way to do a story map. All right, so now we are at the second part of today's virtual program, which is going to be fantasy map making. Again, I have two examples for us. The first one is kind of in the same style that I did the Snow White storyboard for, or story map, I should say. And that is that I just cut out of construction paper what I was aiming for. So it's still pretty abstract as far as a map goes. But as I was creating it, it was kind of fun to think of a little story to go behind, you know, my decisions and my choices. So here in our opposite corners, we have the sunlight, the good, you know, and the unknown, the scary unknown down here. And other things that I chose to include was like this floating city. I imagined kind of like a floating sunshine city. And then we have a mushroom forest where the fairies live, of course. This is just trees to show like the actual traveling forest. We have some mountains that have definitely something living in them, and a lagoon down here with an island in it. But my favorite thing that I was inspired to add on were these clouds. It's actually like a magic storm is kind of what I imagined it to be. So these pass through the magical kingdom, and that's what keeps like the magic and the energy going. So this is super fun to do. You just start making and then see what kind of comes along afterwards. You can do it just for fun because you like it and it looks nice, or you can think of a story to go along with it too. So again, there's so many ways that you guys can do this kind of stuff. The second one that I'm going to show you is my personal favorite. It is like a traditional map. So this is one that I created. I used watercolors and markers, and because I am Miss Loren, I found a way to include glitter. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but all of the streams have glitter on them. And this one I'm going to kind of walk you guys through. But the same goes as like for the story map. You can do absolutely whatever you want. Like I said, this one I painted, but you can just use pencil, pen, markers. You can use the watercolors, you can use glitter, you can use stickers, you can do whatever you'd like. Yep, so let's get started. All right, so I had to change the angle on us a little bit. Hopefully you guys will be able to see what I'm working on. First and foremost, we need paper. So I have a big sheet of paper. It's a little bit like poster board, only because I'm using watercolors. I like the page to get wrinkly. Like my first one, you guys can see, I think that it just kind of makes it look a little bit more old-fashioned. So it's not like thick watercolor paper, but it does get a little bit messy. But you can use whatever you'd like. And then I personally, instead of drawing it out first, because I am painting, I like to just start painting. So for watercolors, I have a little watercolor set. I have water and then a little paper plate in case I decide to mix colors. And then of course, paper towel for my paintbrush. So I also apparently have a broken paintbrush, so give me just a second, let me swap out. Let's try this one instead. All right, so I got us at a different angle here. Hopefully I'll hold everything up for you guys, but hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing at least a little bit. So again, we're going to start with watercolors. So I have a piece of paper a little bit thicker than regular paper, not quite poster board. I like my page to get wrinkly. Like you can see with the first one I made, I just think that it makes it look pretty cool, a little bit more authentic, I guess you could say, but it does kind of get a little messy, so be careful if you decide to use watercolors without watercolor paper. I have everything ready. I have a paper plate in case I want to blend colors. I have my watercolor set. I have water in a paper towel, and then I have some markers over here that I will use to put on some details. I personally don't like to draw at first. Since I am using paint, I just like to wing it basically and start with the land. So I'm going to use brown, I think, today to start, and I'm just going to paint some shapes and let's see. And then I don't like it to be super dark and pigmented to begin with, so I'm gonna mix a lot of water in here and get started. To start mine out, and as you can see, I just painted. These are the shapes that I ended up with. I picked it up too early, so it ended up dripping, so definitely don't do that at home. But this is what we're gonna work with for our base layer. If you want to, you can add more watercolor on there for layering and, you know, darkness for effects. But I am just going to go ahead and outline them next. We have now outlined land masses. From here, you have two different directions you can go. You can go ahead and do your water if you so choose, or you can start to detail. I personally am going to detail first and then do water at the end because my paper will stay wet for a while. All right, just for the sake of this video, I'm going to talk about detail options showing this map. So as you guys can see, I went in with a little bit more watercolor and then did marker afterwards once it had dried. On the edges of most places, I drew some, I'm using it to kind of delineate some cliff edges because they are all surrounded by the sea. And then I have the forest areas just kind of roughly outlined. You can draw specific, individual trees if you want. I also went in and I drew mountains, which I loved. I drew hills, which I did not love. And then I tried again to draw hills down here, and I still did not love them. But it's trial and error, and you're going to learn things, and you can always do it again, which Miss Loren probably will. But I also added in water, again, that I used glitter glue for. But you can truly add in whatever you want. I did not do towns or label anything, but you can draw in cities, places, you can give them names, you can do like a really zoomed in map of one place, truly anything, whatever your imagination and creativity leads you to create. Alright, well, thank you guys again for tuning in for this Imagination Wednesday, the very last one of the summer reading challenge. We really do hope that you guys enjoyed joining us for everything online. We had so much fun making everything for you, and make sure that you are logging all of your reading points because SRC is going to be done on July 25th, which is in like 3 days from when you'll be watching this video. So thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. If you guys do end up making these maps, by the way, please post a comment under here with a picture of them. I would absolutely love to see what you guys create, and I hope you guys have so much fun making these at home. I know that I had a lot of fun making them for this video, so thank you guys again, and we will see you guys soon.